Yeah, I loved it. It was
So, all right, here we go.
got the notes.
All right, we are back. Just a heads up, if I go dark and Trevitt starts narrating where I've left off from, I'm just waiting on a phone call, and that's what's going on. I didn't fall off my chair and bump my head or anything. But yeah, we're back with the midpoint facts here. We got two people to cover for you guys. One from a book we've already covered and one leading into a book in the next section. So we'll start with the one we've already done. And I figured we'd feature the Wild Pack. Since the title was called Silver Sable and the Wild Pack, although I saw no Wild Pack members really, besides the one on the comm. Did you?
No, I didn't see any.
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe that's who showed up at the end.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know either. But anyway, Silver Sable and the Wild Pack, created by Gregory Wright, Steve Butler, and Jim Sanders, had a first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man 265 way back in June in 1985. So we'll give you some info on the Wild Pack here. The Wild Pack was put together by Ernest Sablinova, who is Silver Sable's dad, to track down and apprehend international criminals. They also helped in the recovery of stolen property for a wide array of clientele, from large insurance companies to small countries. The team of operatives that worked with Silver Sable for many years have split and gone their separate ways, that being the Wild Pack. The team slowly declined in skill and ability without A-list recruits. After 4 unsuccessful missions and after a betrayal, Silver Sable decided that the group had become too fractured to keep going. The teams were brought together one last time, and as she explained her plans to disband them, we kind of saw them a little bit back together in that Spider-Man arc with Norman Osborn.
Yeah, that was a good arc.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one. I like that one too. But since that time, and I don't know if they're still together. This issue didn't give us really any hints as to their fate, I guess you could say. But Silver Sable is still alive and kicking after a fake death. So we have that to look forward to. She's back.
She's got a movie coming too. It's from Sony.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little nervous about that. If they just make it like Atomic Blonde, did you see Atomic Blonde?
No, I've never seen that.
Oh, you got to watch that movie, dude. It's sweet. I think if they do like a James Bond, like you said, she reminds you of a James Bond type chick type movie. I think it might work, but I don't know how much I want it connecting to comic book stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, me too.
Make it like Winter Soldier kind of, and you got me. But I don't want Venom popping up in it or anything like that. You know?
Well, they're putting Black Cat, so I think it's gonna be called Silver Sable and Black Cat. So I don't know if they have a history together or anything, or why they would put those two in a movie together. But
I don't know. Like I said, 85. I was 3 years old, so I wasn't quite into Spider-Man comics yet.
Yeah, I was 2.
Yeah. So our second person, we got a sex positive podcast today. A lot of books featuring female leads like Renew Your Vows, Silver Sable, Captain Marvel, and the Midpoint Marvelous Facts, 2 pretty much female-centric characters here. Second one being Evelyn Nectar, a.k.a. Dr. Eve, created by Dan Abnett, Andy Lanning, and Andrea DeVito. First appearance in Nova, Volume 4, number 17, back in November 2008.
That was a good run.
Evelyn Nectar, Dr. Eve, a.k.a. Dr. Eve, is a spy of AIM who infiltrated Project Pegasus as the head of the robotics division. And obviously, working for AIM, shit went downhill from there. She dated Richard Rider for a period of time. A series of events led to Richard losing his powers, where Eve attempted to save him. However, Richard ended up noticing beekeeper uniforms and refused to, be any lab rat to AIM experiments. Eve assured him that she genuinely wanted to save his life and presented him the quantum flask that Quasar was originally contained in, which would heal him. Instead, Ryder passed up that chance and destroyed such flask. Where Wendell Vaughn arrived with the quantum bands, which transformed Richard into the new Quasar, saving his life. So that's really kind of the last big story that involved her before she pops up in this Captain Marvel stuff, I guess. So just a quick little history of her, because I had no idea who I was dealing with when I read Captain Marvel, which we're about to cover here next. So I wanted a little background. So if you're looking for where she popped up and appeared, it was way back in the day. Well, not too far back in the day, about 10 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
With Nova and Richard Rider and all that stuff. Back when AIM was still bad and you know, all that nonsense was going down.
I recently started reading that Nova run. I really like it.
Yeah. Like I said, the cosmic stuff when I was just kind of a younger comic reader didn't really entice me as much, but it feels like the tighter continuity. I have trouble with that.
Continuity.
It feels like the tighter of the two Marvel continuities at this point. So it's got my attention. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just more of a coherent story at this point than everything going down on Earth. So
but I love the cosmic universe. I was thinking the other day when I was in the 3rd grade, we had a time capsule that we buried under, like, in the dirt where the playground was, and I put in my Silver Surfer comics.
God, you dummy.
I know. It was I was like 10. Like, I didn't know any better, but I put in my goodbye Silver Surfer comics. And now they took away that playground and they paved over it. So now those Silver Surfer comics are buried under concrete. So they're never coming back ever again.
Yep, too bad.
5 years later.
We're going to transition here to book section number 2, where we'll pick up talking about Marvel Cosmic, starting with Captain Marvel 126. And Trevitt is going to take it away here as we cover our first Captain Marvel issue on Marvel Madness.
Yeah, it is. It's the first ever.
Yeah. I'm usually not a huge fan of her, and I really became a Captain Marvel hater after Civil War II, where
they
she was pretty much like butchered as a character. But
such a bitch.
Yeah, I figured Legacy was as good a time of any to jump back on and see what she's up to, and hints of a cosmic gem or infinity gem or stone, whatever they want to call them now, is appearing. Kind of hinted me towards trying it out again. So
I tried to read the Mighty Captain Marvel, and it wasn't bad. Like, it was pretty good. But then, like, Secret Empire came, and it got the majority of that run got tied up in Secret Empire, and then it had one regular issue, and then Legacy happened, and here we are with regular Captain Marvel. So, but which is I'm glad that it ended and restarted, because after having like 5 to 7 issues being tangled up in an event, it's good to get a fresh start and a fresh perspective on it. So, but it does carry over some things, like the girl she's looking for was from the beginning of the Mighty Captain Marvel run, and Mims, the character who's roaming around with Dr. Eve, is from the Mighty
is that a robot?
So. I think it's a person in a suit. I've never seen her out of the suit, but I think there's a person in there.
Okay.
So Captain Marvel 126, written by Margaret Stoll, art by Michelle Bandini, colors by Eric Arsenega. Okay, yeah. And VC's Joe Caramagna on letters, and the cover by Phil Noto. So Solicit goes a little something like this: Dark Origin Part 2. They say you can't go home again. But what about a creepy, dark version of your childhood home? Carol Danvers finds herself in just such a place and brings new meaning to sneaking out of the house. Plus, as Alpha Flight endeavors to find Carol, what they do will change everything. Yeah, we didn't get any of that in this issue, so I don't know what they're talking about in that part of the solicit, because Alpha Flight, we don't get to see anything from Alpha Flight in this issue.
Yeah. Well, not the real Alpha Flight.
No, Zeta Flight, yeah, but because that's how the last issue ended, with Carol chasing them. They were heading towards like this thing, the singularity, and Carol was chasing them, and then they disappeared, and the rest of Puck and Agent Brand and somebody else, I think the Asian chick, they were in there, and they're like, oh, where'd she go? And that was the last time we saw Alpha Flight. So all right. So we start this issue off with Dr. Eve and Mims after they stole a device from Project Pegasus and a vial of Carol's blood for some reason. We haven't found that out yet. And they're on some faraway planet in what looks like a cave system looking for a powerful gemstone. That pretty much sums up the first page. And it's kind of weird just to go from just them in there, like to talking about what they're looking for a second, which, we didn't know. I guess that just sets up, what they're looking for. And then we just immediately go to Carol and stay with Carol. So then we meet up with Captain Marvel, and she's floating around in space after following Mims and Dr. Eve through a singularity, but she's not aware that she did. So at the moment, she's just floating in front of what looks like Earth, wondering where Puck and the others are. So, because they were following right behind her. And in an old school NASA space shuttle that they got from NASA, because all their Alpha Flight ships were destroyed once they crashed the Triskelion into the planetary defense shield. So, which didn't even work. So it was kind of a waste.
Yeah, right.
And, which is funny because this is a side note, it has nothing to do with this issue, but from All New Wolverine this week, I think for some reason it takes place before Secret Empire, because the Triskelion is mentioned and it's shown in, I think it's shown, but I know it's mentioned in the issue as if it's still around. And I was talking about this with Ryan, and I was like, how could it be around when they crashed it in fucking Secret Empire? I was like, this must take place before Secret Empire somehow. I don't know, weird, but they do that in comics all the time, so whatever. So Captain Marvel flies towards the Earth and runs into a reflective surface that she realizes is some sort of like cloaking shield, and she makes her way through it. And on the other side, she sees the Triskelion, the new, what she thinks is the new Alpha Flight station, which is weird because in last issue when Black Panther was briefing her, he said the rebuild was behind schedule. So, here it is. So the station security system goes off when she gets too close and scans her as Corporal Carol Danvers. And right there is the first little taste of weirdness that something's off about where she is. So
yeah, and they'll pound you over the head with it throughout the issue. So
yeah,
if you miss it in this case.
Yeah, they do. They really do. So now she's trying to rationalize the existence of this station and being here. So she thinks to herself, maybe T'Challa lied to her about the rebuild because being behind schedule because, after all, she did blow up 2 of these things already. So
yeah.
But when she runs into her team, she runs into more weirdness, like, them calling her Corporal. Everyone's calling Puck Eugene instead of Puck. And the fact that they keep calling themselves Zeta Flight instead of Alpha Flight, and even like the little emblems on their patches are different. So right there, something wrong. But Cal just plays along with it. So now and then we check back in with Mims and Dr. E.
Breaking news here. We got Matthew Rosenberg, who likes some of our Marvel Madness tweets. So there's that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool. I like Matthew Roseberg. I read a cool he interviewed Rick Remender for this website, and it was a really cool interview. They have a lot in common, apparently, in career-wise. And I learned a lot about how a lot of comic writers feel about the industry and look at Marvel as a vehicle to like establish themselves into an indie career where they can make money off of doing what they love instead of being forced to do what someone else wants, because I guess editorial can be a bitch sometimes.
Well, I think like those dudes ultimately, quick tangent, end up making more money from indie books, and I don't think they make a whole lot of money doing corporate work. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the way for them to squeeze out a few extra bucks is through that indie stuff, and plus they get to tell their own stories. So yeah, I can see why DC does exclusives, and Marvel is having a hard time keeping people if they're not paying top dollar. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're not paying top dollar, but also like certain books, like you might get freedom on, like the editorial. I guess it depends on an editor to editor basis, depending on what section of comics you're in. So like there are certain books, like the best books that people love from Rick Remender when he was at Marvel, like Uncanny X-Force, Venom, Punisher, stuff like that. Like those are the books where they let him do what he wanted to do. And then there are other books where they're not as notable that he did. Like people don't say, hey, go look at that one, like maybe Captain America or something. And those are the books where editorial is like heavy on him, saying like, yo, you can't do this, but you can do this. Or don't do the, or you like have your whole entire run planned out, you make your pitch, and they're like shoot you down, or they accept it, But then when you get down to brass tacks and you start writing like the scripts out there, like, well, you got to change this and you got to change that and you can't have him do this. You know what I mean? Like, who the fuck wants to work that way? Like,
I know.
so you're chopping a good writer to bits. So sometimes you could have a really, really good writer who's writing crappier stuff, and it all gets put on the writer, like when like Newsarama or Bleeding Cool or just like in a forum where people are talking to each other, and half the time it's not even the writer's fault, it's the editorial's fault. Like if we got the original story, it might have been fucking dope, you know. So
yeah.
But okay, yeah. So back to Captain Marvel.
Yep.
So all that, you know, we're talking about the Zeta flight and instead of Alpha flight, she runs into them and all that. So, but all that can be figured out later because all of a sudden they become under attack. And it's strange because they're being attacked by Quinjets. You know, it's strange to Carol. So in the middle of the fight, Carol notices some more things that are out of place. You know, people she knows acting out of character. So like Wendy,
like Puck doesn't want to take action.
Yeah, Puck doesn't want to fight. Wendy is a natural pilot. Sasquatch talking about his feelings and not about food. And then and then mid fight, after Carol fucking, which was it was a cool scene where she punches that fucking Quinjet and completely just takes the front end of it off. We check in for some reason with Mims and Dr. Eve for one page while they fight a monster squid and kind of talk about it for a second, but not really. A joke is made, you know,
calamari.
Full of horrible calamari. Like the fuck. But yeah, so we get a page of that, and now we're back to Carol in Zeta flight. Air quotations. Carol notices one pilot of a Quinjet in particular and the skills of said pilot and gets blasted into the station wall. And then the jet lands, and Black Widow, or should I say the Widower, because that's what everybody keeps calling her, steps out and gives Carol shit for cutting her out of some kind of heist. And then tells her that, you know, she can have her money because she's a thief and not a super spy, and no matter what, she won't get away. She won't know how to hide from the king, whoever that is. And then Black Widow takes off all pissy, which is, you know, I don't know. I guess we'll see more on that later.
What's the point of just stopping and yelling? To kind of let the team know? I didn't really understand this point either.
I think it's to
a fight was going to happen based on the cover.
Yeah, so I'm guessing, like, you know, there's 4 more issues to this arc, probably 3 or 4 more issues, and at some point this heist that they're mentioning right here is probably going to be, you know, have to happen. So first Carol's convincing them, you know, they'll get a cut of it if they go, well, we're going to get to that in a minute, but yeah, so I'm assuming that all this is going to be coming up in like an issue or two where because I, like, you know, they mentioned this heist and this robbery that's going to happen, and this king or whoever on Earth, like whoever runs shit, whoever that is, but I guess we're gonna find out. And man, so meanwhile, Dr. Eve and Mims are where they want to be, and they're ready to collect the gem that they've been looking for. Then we flash back to Carol. We keep getting like these one-page check-ins with Mims and Dr. Eve because eventually the 2 stories converge. So then we get Carol in her quarters on the Zeta Flight station, trying to figure out how she has gotten herself into this mess, but then gets interrupted by the crew, and they tell her that they want their cut of the score, and if they don't get it, then they walk. They're fucking done. No more Zeta Flight, right? So Carol decides to make her circumstance work for her and tells the crew that if they want their cut, then they need to help her find Mims, you know? Because that's what she's looking for, because of her friend, her God, what's the name of the planet? What's the name of the race? The Kree. Her Kree friend. So, you know, meanwhile, back in the cave, Mims and Eve finally collected the gem. They're making their way out of the cave, and they stop for a moment because Eve wants Mims to take a moment and feel the power of the gem, and that's when a sniper has Mims in the crosshairs and then takes a shot, hits her right in the fucking shoulder. She drops to the ground. Then Eve gets hit in the fucking head, but it's not like a kill shot, so she's fine. So she drops too, and then the bag falls, and we see a hand reach into the bag and pick out the gem, and it's Lord Starkill, which is this Mirror Worlds version of Star-Lord. And he has that cool helmet that Star-Lord had during the Dan Abnett run.
Mhm.
And he reports back to someone that Eve and Mims are down, and he has the gem and is told to by whoever it is that he's talking to on the other end
I
of the
wonder if
line.
it's his dad. I wonder if they're entertaining all this stuff with Star-Lord's dad again.
You know what? I was thinking that too. I was thinking that maybe like maybe his dad conquered Earth, and his dad is the king that Black Widow was talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why he's Lord Starkill, because he's his son. You know, kids of the princes or whatever, they can be referred to as lords. So that does totally make sense. So I think
Yeah.
maybe they're gonna have like a Spartax empire on Earth, and
Yeah.
and they're looking for this gem. So
That's what, like, sometimes, I'm not necessarily right, but that, like, when a cliffhanger happens, whatever my mind snaps to first is not usually, again, what's right, but that's just where my mind went first. I'm like,
yeah,
Star-Lord's dad, maybe. I
it
was
makes sense though.
figured out.
I
But
didn't I didn't think of that after I first read it, but that totally does make sense, because it's a different mirror like universe, and since they don't get along in the regular universe, maybe they do get along in this universe, and they forged a common goal because he's half Earthling, so they went back to his home planet and conquered the motherfucker.
yeah,
And now he's looking for his Infinity Gem, and this brings us. And what I like about this, and in in relation to the other book we're going to be doing next, is everything is Infinity Gems. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
these things are just popping up all over the fucking place. And
The only thing weird though is this is like a pocket dimension or a mirror dimension or something like that, and I'm not
yeah,
sure how this weasels its way into the regular universe unless Carol obviously gets a hold of it and it comes back with her. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I think
Um,
she's going to get a hold of it because that solicit that we saw when I thought it was the regular Star Lord, that her and Star Lord are fighting over the gem. So
yeah,
maybe an elder or something went into this pocket universe and hid the gem there because it would be impossible to find.
right. Yeah.
So
So buy, borrow, or forget. What'd you think of Captain Marvel?
So buy, borrow, or forget. I'd have to say that I was pleasantly surprised. That's where I'm not a big fan of Captain Marvel because of Civil War 2 for the most part. I did like the old like Miss Marvel series, and the Captain Marvel series before this were okay for the most part. The one with Dexter Soy was pretty cool, but this was alright. It had really good art. I really liked the art. The story was pretty cool. For the most part, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't awful.
Right.
I'll give it a borrow.
Yeah. I think
Let's give
that's
it a borrow.
firmly where I'm at too. I was more impressed by the art than the story. Like, I feel like some of the stuff I wanted more information on wasn't addressed as much. And
Yeah.
like they kept beating you over the head with Captain Marvel's thoughts of, is this real? Well, I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, like I got a little annoyed with continuously reading that. But yeah, it was a decent issue. I mean, if you're a Captain Marvel fan, I think this is a book you'd like. If you're still on the fence about Captain Marvel and you pick this up, I'm not sure you're jumping on the all-in wagon. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
if you're just peeking in for the Infinity Gems, I think you have an entertaining enough story here to enjoy and not feel like you wasted your money. So yeah, I'd give it a borrow.
I think also if you hate her, this would like from Civil War. This and the last issue would be something to check out just to like repair her in your eyes.
Yeah, she comes off as a better person here for sure. Yeah, and doesn't make me just straight out hate her from how she was depicted previously.
Yeah,
like I was. So yeah, it changed my mind a little bit in that regards, which is also why I give it a borrow, change my opinion on her. But yeah, we're gonna go to our last book here, another one of Trevitt's bad boys, and this is Thanos 13, the first legacy issue, and the new creative team. And somebody who wrote a pretty damn good book last week. So I was excited for this one coming in. See what we got here in Thanos.
All right. So I've become a big Donny Cates fan because I love God Country. I recently started to burn my way through Redneck. That's a great book. I want to go back and read Paybacks because Jim said that's one of his favorite comics ever. So Donny Cates has a really good indie track record. I don't think there's a book that he's written independently that anyone has not liked, and everybody always raves about him. And there's a reason for that. He's a fucking really, really good writer, and I'm glad that. And you know what? It's not a surprise to me that Marvel, without even testing him out, like normally, like Matthew Rosenberg got signed as an exclusive deal. I think Ed Brisson got signed to an exclusive deal, but they worked at Marvel loosely at first and like had to work on some books and work their way. They signed Donny Cates like right out of the gate exclusively. Like they got him, they signed him exclusively. That's it. He didn't have to write anything before he got that exclusive deal.
Yeah.
So, and it shows why. Doctor Strange was great, and this was fucking fantastic. So Thanos number 13, written by Donny Cates, art and cover done by Jeff Shaw, who was also his artist on his image book God Country. So they're naturally, and they also did the paybacks together. So they're a team independently, and now they're a team at Marvel. So color by Antonio Fabula, and letters by the VC's Clayton Cowles. Because let me tell you, if there's a book like a top-notch quality all-star like creative team book, nobody but Clayton Cowles is doing those letters. Like if it's an Image book, if it's a Marvel book, if it's a DC book, Clayton Cowles is doing the letters. If it's like considered a big book, you know, he does Batman, like he does everything. Like there's nothing Clayton Cowles doesn't do. He does Mr. Miracle. He does like 60% of the Marvel books. This guy works harder, and he also does designs too. Like he doesn't just do like the lettering, but he does the designs of like the credits page and all that. So he's a fucking hardworking motherfucker, I'll tell you that. So the solicitation, Thanos wins part 1, ask for powerful beings in the Marvel universe, how they fear the universe will not end. What the fuck did that say? Oh yeah. Ask the most powerful beings in the Marvel universe how they fear the universe will end, and in their most honest moments, they will answer with 2 words: Thanos wins. Now, see what happens when he does. All right. I love this cover. I love the color, like the purple and everything. And once again, I want to praise that corner box art, and I love that Marvel got Mike McCone to do all of the corner box art.
Yeah,
So
I like how they're consistent too. That's cool. I like one artist did them all.
One artist did them all, and I love that he did them like a full page. So like, because every variant cover for the first issue of a legacy book, they have a variant cover with the corner box art face, so it's full page. So when you shrink it in that top left corner, it's so detailed, you know. It doesn't look like some of the X-Men corner box art from when Resurrection started. It doesn't look that good. It looks like someone drew it that small, so there's like not a lot of detail, but these have like ridiculous detail. All right, so we start this issue off with a cold opening about how no matter who you are in the Marvel universe, no matter how strong or fearless you are, eventually Thanos will get you in the end. Like everybody thinks that you know, there's no outrunning Thanos. Like eventually he's going to be the end. So then we get the credits page, and we get another opening to where our story begins, and it's a really well written and chock full of information about the Chitauri. So if you don't know that much, you're going to learn a lot. So for instance, their home planet is hundreds of degrees below freezing for years at a time, and when someone is shot or cut and the blood sprays out, it instantly freezes in midair and creates small flurries of red snowflakes. So they call it war snow, and it's collected and given to the Chitauri children to eat. How fucked up is that? Like,
yeah, it's gross.
That right there is fucking gross. It's fucked up, and I finally learned what those little fucking things are called from the giant like whales, but they're actually sharks. They're called leviathans. I get a lot of information here that I had some questions to. So now while we're getting the narration for the Chitauri opening, we notice from the art that the leviathans, aka the giant space sharks, have giant holes through them, and there are dead bodies everywhere. And as we turn the pages, we see Thanos with his foot on the neck of some guy. So Thanos asks who their king is, and the man underfoot claims to be the king. So Thanos isn't buying it, and he crushes the guy's head because, you know, he says kings do not beg.
Yeah, because he's begging for his life.
Yeah, he's begging for his life. And that bottom right panel, like Thanos' face, I just the art looks great. I didn't expect this going into it, like, because the God Country art was great, but it was like very styled, and this is completely different, a different style than like what I'm used to from Jeff Shaw. So it's amazing. Like I was blown away. So yeah. So the narrator tells us that Thanos comes in here in hopes of a big fight after what happened with him, fighting Thane and almost dying, and wanting, now he wants something beautiful to destroy, because the previous 3 issues, like the previous 12 issues to this, Thanos went through some shit. So now he's powerful again, and he wants to destroy some shit. So the crowd in the Coliseum, where he crushed the man who claimed to be King's head, is chanting his name, and he takes his place on the little throne in the middle of the Coliseum. So a new subject approaches, and he wants to bend Thanos' ear to let him know that the parts of the military that he didn't destroy on his way in, he's now in control of. So Thanos is a little sarcastic about it. He's like, at last, the glory. Like he doesn't give a shit. So he's not interested, but I'm gonna call this guy nobody, because that's what he basically calls him, a nobody. So he wants to know, like, since they have already surrendered, if Thanos will have his god stop attacking them. And Thanos is a little confused, and he asks what this guy's talking about. And this dude, this nobody guy, says that this thing appeared out of nowhere, and it's faster than anything they've ever seen, even faster than Thanos when he first came in and ripped everything up. And it moves like the Phoenix. And then blood just starts raining down from the sky, and the nobody guy asks Thanos, if he's smiling, and he is. And it's kind of fucking gross, because next we see all the blood snow turn to rain, and it pours down out of the sky as like this cosmic fire burns through everything, melting all of it, and through all the leviathans, and Thanos is covered in blood, and he smells it, and he like washes it over his fucking mouth. It's so fucking gross. And he smiles like he's happy, like he's like gets his hand out, and like all the blood's raining on his hand, and he like rubs it on his mouth and smells it, and he's like getting a hard on over all this blood just raining out of the sky. And so then we see the cause of all this, and it's a futuristic Ghost Rider, and he's blazing through the sky, shooting guns, laughing like a crazy son of a bitch, with chains, like Ghost Rider's chains, flailing behind him as he rides through and rips the Chitauri army apart. He's just like fucking drilling holes through those leviathans, just flying through everything. And then through the narration, we find out he's not only a Ghost Rider, but he also is a former Herald of Galactus and has the power cosmic. And he's the right-hand man of someone named the Final King, who we find out who that is later. And he looks fucking great. He's got that cool costume with, like, it looks like stars in it. So, like, his costume looks like space, kind of like Eternity. And his motorcycle looks fucking insane. And I love that Chitauri army. And they're like, for the glory of our Lord Thanos. And he just fucking rides through them. So this motherfucker rides through them.
He's like my favorite part of this book, I think, going forward.
He's fucking crazy. He's nuts. He's like, and he's kind of like Deadpool personality wise.
Yeah, that's part of the reason I like him so much.
Yeah. So, but not too crazy, like not too Deadpool, where he can be like kind of annoying sometimes. But so this motherfucker parks his motorcycle, rolls up right to Thanos, and gives this enthusiastic like, "Hey, like, what the fuck's up?" And then he tells him that he's gonna need Thanos to come with him. So the rider tries to talk Thanos into leaving with him, but knows there's a better chance of a fight because, he's fucking Thanos. And Thanos has no idea who this guy is or why he's here. And the rain of blood didn't help. Like him running in and just tearing shit up. They have a long conversation that I won't just really get into. So while they're talking it out, Thanos blasts him, and the rider just goes flying. And then he wraps Thanos up in those chains, and he tells Thanos not to try to hurt himself by getting out, because the chains were forged from the bones of Sidorak, who is the god and or demon that powers the Juggernaut, which is pretty fucking crazy. Those are some powerful fucking chains. So, yeah. So then he gets Thanos all tied up, and he shows him a piece of the time stone. Tells him basically, yeah, so you don't want to fuck around, and start throwing lasers out of your eye because I got this time stone here and I can pause time and wrap you up in these chains. So there's nothing you could really fucking do about it. Oh, fucking nose. So then he takes off at light speed in the blink of an eye and goes through goes through a portal. Like he opens up a portal with the time stone and they go through it. And at the other end is Earth, a million years in the future. And it looks really fucked up. Like everything's just destroyed. The moon is split in half. The Earth looks a little too close to the fucking sun. Oh, actually, that's the Earth split in half. My bad. This is probably all the other planets in the solar system just destroyed around it. And the Earth has a giant fucking chunk cut out of it. So they land, and the rider starts making his way to what looks like a dead Galactus's head. And he hands the time zone back to his boss. All the while, Thanos is threatening to kill him and all that good stuff. And then there's like a look of shock that comes over Thanos's face. And when he, they finally show who the boss is. You see a future version of Thanos sitting inside the dead mouth of Galactus as if that's like his throne, which is pretty fucking badass.
With the Ghost Rider smiling like cheesing like a motherfucker.
Cheesing like a motherfucker. Yeah, it's just fucking hilarious. Like, I bet you didn't think this was where you're gonna see, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And then you get your next issue preview pages, which I love that Marvel's doing this now. You turn the page and then you get like little panels of what's gonna happen in the next issue and beyond. So plus a budding friendship. That's my favorite part at the bottom. It's like plus a budding friendship, and it shows Thanos and the future Ghost Rider, and then you see the next cover, which looks like Thanos and Ghost Rider are gonna go at it, and I'm like, this was a great idea. Okay,
yeah.
He doesn't. You don't need to have read the previous Thanos run to appreciate this. He acknowledges it in one sentence in a narration panel, right? And then that's it. We move on from there. He just lets you know that some shit happened in the last, like, before, which was the last arc. And then we move on from there. And then he takes us to the future where he can pretty much do whatever the fuck he wants. Like, he doesn't have to worry about continuity, really. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to worry about fucking things up. Like, from this point on, he can tell a story however he wants, and he's not like constrained by editorial because there's nothing he's gonna fuck up. So you're gonna get the best of him right here. And I just thought it was a great opening to an arc. This book was pretty much like the best book I read this week. I loved the information of the Chitauri in the first couple of pages. I loved the cold opening. I love Thanos being Thanos. We saw him go through some serious shit in the Jeff Lemire run, like almost dying and being kind of weak. Like, so seeing him the way you've never seen him before, previous 12 issues, and now you're seeing him the way he is, but it's also a fresh take at the same time because of all the future stuff and the Ghost Rider coming in. And the art and color was spectacular. Like, I loved everything about it. And like I said, I'm not saying it like the God Country art was bad. It's just like stark difference between that style and this style. And after seeing that stylized art from Paybacks and God Country, I didn't know Jeff Shaw could had it like this. Like, I didn't know he could draw like this, and it's fucking gorgeous. Like, I loved it. This is a buy for me completely. That Ghost Rider is so awesome.
Yeah, I really like this issue too. I know I was kind of complaining, like I've liked some of the books, but I haven't found that book that's made me want to pick up a new series. And I think I finally found at least one as far as Thanos goes, because I really like this issue. I really like the other characters they present to you in it as far as new ones go. If you have no idea who the Chitauri are, they fill you in on all that. If you've lived under a rock for the last couple of years. Yeah, it's just pretty much a perfect legacy issue as far as that goes. Is being filled in on what happened before and picking up new beats and just all around it was a fun book. So yeah, I haven't read any of the Danny Coates indie books. I'm not a huge indie guy. I'm more of a big two guy myself. But yeah, I think I would check out his other I know we did Doctor Strange last week, but I even like this one more than that too.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
That one was good as well, but you know, this one was really making me check out a new series. So I give this one the edge. But
I think you'd like God
yeah, I
Country.
think it's a buy for me. So we got 2 borrows, 1 forget, and 1 buy this week. Pretty even week. I wouldn't say it was bad. Like my borrows were high suggested borrows, but
Yeah.
you know,
I had
not
two
a clean
buys.
sweep of buys or anything. But
This was my favorite. I think this is overall my favorite issue of the week.
yeah. Well, yeah, it was my favorite, like um favorite issue I've read probably this month, to be honest with you. It's been a weird month of
Yeah,
comics.
definitely. Actually, so far, yeah, this was the one I
But
was
yeah,
waited for and I was most excited for because, you know, I was hearing through the grapevine all these things. Donny Cates, Donny Cates. Like every site I went and like read something, people were like, "Oh, he's talking about him being the up and comer," and then he had like a co-writing credit on some of the Captain America Steve Rogers issues during Secret Empire, and people were like, you know, watch out for him. He's going to be so great at Marvel. And I was like, okay, I gotta see what this guy's all about. I've never read anything by him, so I went and the first thing I got was God Country because it's not an ongoing. It's a 6-issue story. That's it. It's 6 issues and it's done. And I went and I read it and it was fucking awesome. It was incredible, and I couldn't wait. And like when I saw he was going to be writing Thanos, and I loved the Jeff Lemire run so much, and I was so happy that they decided to continue it and make it to an ongoing because you know the sales I guess were really good. It's one of their better selling books. This was the one I was most excited for out of all of the legacy books. Like this was the one I couldn't wait to read, and it did not disappoint me at all. So it's crazy. I think you'd like
yeah.
God Country.
What'd you say?
I said I think you'd like God Country.
Yeah, I'm so behind on. I keep buying books, and I'm falling behind on even my weekly reading at this point. So
I know what that's like.
that's where I'm at. I need to get some time in my life. Even my Monday days off, I go into work half the time, so I really chip away half my free time right there. But yeah, we're gonna wrap things up this week here, guys. Let you know what books we're covering next week. It's gonna be a 3-book week. And then just quick sign out segment before we leave this week because we didn't have one last week. Figured we'd cover just some shows that we're watching, maybe not comic book related, but I've fallen in love with Shameless lately, so that's
good show.
Kind of like a crazy family comedy / drama show that's I don't know, reminds me of childhood a little bit. Not that I had crazy parents like these two, but some of the crazy situations the kids get into are fun and shit. But yeah, I really dug that show. And then this Mosaic show that I've heard about, I haven't watched yet, but it's like a show you got to download an app to watch. And it's kind of like a choose your own adventure show. And I think I'm going to get into that next. So those are going to be the 2 things I'm watching currently. I don't know what you got on your plate there.
I got 2 HBO shows that I just got. One I just got into the other day, and I'm like 5-6 episodes in, and I'm fucking hooked, which is Boardwalk Empire. I never got on the train when it first came out. Everybody always told me to watch it, and I just never did.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah. And for everyone who doesn't know, which sometimes I feel like I'm the only one who didn't watch this show, it's based in the 1920s and follows a lot of like characters that everybody knows, like Lucky Luciano and Al Capone, like in their younger years, and deals a lot with Prohibition in Atlantic City and Nucky Thompson. It's a really, really good show, and I just finished. They had the one season was a 6-episode season, and then they had 20 like 15-minute episodes of like internet shorts of this show called High Maintenance, which is about a weed dealer in New York City who, like, you know, he delivers to your house. He's kind of like a bike messenger, but he delivers weed instead of messages. And you know, he'll go to a house and deliver some of the weed. Like first you're following him, and then he gets to his customer, and then you follow the customer, and you see stories of their lives, and it's such a really fucking cool show. It just weaves in and out of like his life and his customers' lives in Brooklyn, New York, and it was kind of strange, but like really, really strange. But at the same time, it was really interesting and fun.
Yeah, so that's where we're at as far as TV stuff goes. It'll change from comics, but we're going to wrap things up here for you guys. Again, if you're looking to get a hold of us, emails, Twitter, you can find us at marvelmadness0@gmail.com, Twitter madnessmarvel1 on the Twitterverse. And then next week, we're going to be covering for you guys the final one shot. So Darkhawk 51, first Old Man Logan legacy issue, so number 31. And then we're going to do some check-ins on Venom prior to this Spider-Man crossover kicking off, number 158. So that's what's coming to you guys next week on the 5th week of November. But we are signing out here. Peace out. We'll talk to you next week, and adios.
Peace.